All right, the picture you're looking at here is a nuclear power plant that you see if you've ever driven down south to San Diego. You see this off to your right. This is a nuclear power plant here in California, one of three. Go ahead and join me on page 430 in your science textbook and follow along. What are natural resources? What would you need to live off the land? All animals need air to breathe, water to drink, and food to eat for energy. People need soil to grow food. Rocks and minerals are needed for soil formation. Forests produce some of the oxygen people breathe, as well as raw materials for shelter and fuel for fires. Natural resources are materials people take from Earth. Almost everything people use comes directly or indirectly from a natural resource. Earth's natural resources can be classified by the processes and the time needed to produce them. In one group are the resources that take so long to replace that they are considered non-renewable. Non-renewable resources are available in fixed quantities, or are used up more quickly than they can be replaced. Fossil fuels are non-renewable because they take millions of years to form. Once the existing supply of fossil fuels is gone, that fuel cannot be replaced. Minerals such as copper and gold, which are limited resources, are also non-renewable. Other resources can be replaced. So I'm on page 431 now. Renewable resources are those that can be replaced by nature, sometimes at a rate close to their rate of use. If trees are cut down, their seeds can be replanted. Water is constantly replenished through the water cycle. Some resources, such as solar energy, are almost inexhaustible. There is virtually no end to the supply. Not all renewable resources can be replaced at the same rate. Resources such as soil are replaced at a very slow rate. It can take from 500 to 2,000 years to replace just a few centimeters of topsoil. Even when a resource can be replaced, only limited quantities of it may exist. Although most of Earth is covered with water, only a small amount of water is fresh and available for use by people. If fresh water is polluted, or if people use too much water, then water shortages can occur despite the fact that water is constantly replaced. Whether a resource is renewable or non-renewable, all natural resources must be regarded as Earth's treasures. To sustain life and protect Earth for future generations, people must make wise decisions. The idea of sustainability suggests people should fulfill present needs without endangering the ability of future generations to fulfill their needs as well. Okay, turning the page on to 432. What are non-renewable resources? Some non-renewable resources take hundreds of millions of years to form because they take so long to form they cannot be replenished in a short amount of time. Much of our current technology and most of our electronic devices depend on non-renewable resources. The two main types of non-renewable resources are fossil fuels and nuclear fuels. Fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are formed from the remains of plants and animals that lived millions of years ago. These fuels include coal, oil, and natural gas. Fossil fuels give off large amounts of energy when they burn, because they contain the elements hydrogen and carbon. More than 90% of fossil fuels mined are used for fuel. The other 10% of fossil fuels are used to make a variety of products, such as plastics and petrochemicals. Petrochemicals, which come from petroleum or natural gas, include ingredients in paints, fertilizers, pesticides, plastics, and medicines. With the growth of industry, the demand for energy also grows. Our economy depends on fossil fuels for energy. For example, fossil fuels provide the energy to power machines that save time and labor. Without fossil fuels, the economy would suffer. However, the burning of fossil fuels is the greatest contributor to air pollution. Okay, continuing on page 433, nuclear fuels. Nuclear energy is produced when atoms are split apart in a controlled chain reaction. Because the forces in the nucleus of an atom are very strong, the energy released is much greater than energy from other sources. Splitting the atoms in 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds of uranium, yields about as much energy as burning millions of kilograms of coal. Nuclear fuels are materials such as uranium that can be used in nuclear reactors as a source of energy. Nuclear fuels can undergo induced fission, or the splitting of atoms into pieces. The nucleus can be split when struck by a slow-moving neutron. Although uranium is quite common, uranium-235, the type used in fission, is relatively rare and is not renewable. Nuclear power plants provide electricity around the world. Without this type of fuel, other sources would be needed to meet the demand for energy. All right, thanks for following along. Go ahead and continue on your science lesson.